What's going on, everyone? This is Luke from South Beach Sports, and welcome back to another video of the Miami Heat offseason trade target series. The first video I made was on Collin Sexton. That video will be down in the description below if you've not seen it already. And this video will be on Dallas Mavericks power forward Kristaps Porzingis. Now, before I get into why I think Kristaps Porzingis could be a trade target for Miami this offseason, I want to remind you guys to go ahead and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and if you enjoy content like this. Also, go comment down below your thoughts on a possible Kristaps Porzingis trade to the Heat. So, I first want to clarify that with these videos, I'm just exploring possible trade options. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. I was a fan of the possible Collin Sexton trade to the Heat in the last video, and I have an opposite point of view to a possible Kristaps Porzingis trade to the Heat, as you guys will see in this video. Alright, so why would the Dallas Mavericks want to move on from Kristaps Porzingis in the first place? Well, there were reports that Luka and Porzingis have not gone along super well. Around late April, owner Mark Cuban mentioned to reporters that, I quote, "On the court they are fine. That's not to say there aren't dust-ups, because there are." In another quote he said, "KP, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luka get along fine. It's just that they're different people. They like to do different things." Now, I'm not saying that star players on teams necessarily have to be the best of friends. For example, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal on those early 2000s Lakers teams didn't always get along, but they ended up winning 3 championships. But it is discouraging how Mark Cuban mentioned that they're so different, and it really implies that they're not the best of friends off the court, which might even translate to their on-court performances. There was also a report by Tim McMahon, I'm sorry for mispronouncing that last name, that Kristaps Porzingis has been frustrated with his role in the Mavericks and that he often feels like an afterthought than a co-star alongside Luka Doncic. Now, I kind of understand where Porzingis is coming from. He's often the forgotten second fiddle to the generational talent in Luka, but I mean, that's how it's going to be, especially when you're next to such an amazing player like Luka, and especially when Kristaps has been so disappointing as of late, especially in the playoffs. From a pure number standpoint, Porzingis did have a pretty decent season last year. He finished the year averaging 20 points per game to go along with 9 rebounds a game and a pretty efficient 38% clip from 3. These numbers don't tell the full story, as it's become very apparent that Porzingis has declined a lot defensively since his time in New York, whether that's because of his ACL injury, which he suffered in 2018, or just natural regression. Porzingis is not the same player at all that he once was on defense. We can even see this statistically, as he averaged as much as 2.4 blocks a game during his time in New York, compared to this past season in Dallas, where he only averaged 1.3 blocks a game. Let's transition now into his playoff stats, where he finished the 6-game series with the Clippers, averaging a very disappointing 13 points and 5 rebounds a game. It also became apparent, especially because of how much media attention the Clippers-Mavericks series got, that Porzingis is nowhere near as physical enough as he needs to be. I remember at one play he had a mismatch on him. I believe it was Reggie Jackson. He had Jackson in that mid to high post area. Instead of passing out and then taking advantage of the mismatch and putting Jackson down to the low post, Porzingis caught the ball again in that 15 to 20 foot area and put up a contested deep fadeaway, which he missed. Plays like this just signifies that Porzingis doesn't know how to be physical, and he really doesn't know how to take advantage of his 7'3" height. Let's transition now into why the Heat might want to trade for Porzingis. They have the cap space to do so. They have the facilities to absorb his $102 million contract that he's owed over the next 3 years. In my opinion, that's an overpay, but it's the amount of money that they would have to end up paying him. They're also in need of great scoring help. We saw throughout the regular season and throughout the short 4-game playoff run that the Heat badly need another big-time scorer. Even though he did struggle in the playoffs, Porzingis averaged 20 points a game over the course of last season, so he would fill that need. The Heat are also in need of another stretch big or forward to plug in next to Bam Adebayo. I don't expect the Heat to retain Trevor Ariza, or if they do, I don't expect Ariza to become the starting 4. So the Heat could look to Porzingis as a nice complement to Bam. Bam is more of a slashing, driving type big, pairing that to Kristaps Porzingis, who is a guy who can stretch the floor, and that's a pretty good combo. Lastly, Kristaps would also help in the rebounding department. The Heat were dead last in the NBA last year as they only averaged 49 rebounds a game, and adding a big who's 7'3", who averaged 9 rebounds a game would definitely help. It would also help considering Bam gets switched on to guards and wings on the perimeter quite often, and he's not able to get the rebounds a lot of the times. So having a big in the paint to collect those boards would be such a huge advantage. As for a potential Porzingis to Miami trade package, I do not think the Heat would have to give up that much. I don't think they would have to part ways with their more valuable young assets such as Precious Achiuwa or Tyler Hero, and I think they would only have to give up Goran Dragic and Andre Iguodala, who are both on expiring deals and who would evenly match the massive Porzingis contract. The Mavericks are looking to get rid of Porzingis. Everybody knows this. So I do see a scenario where the Mavericks are willing to take on the large but yet expiring deals of Dragic and Iguodala, who do have a lot of playoff experience, in exchange for the struggling Porzingis. Now, for why I ultimately don't think the Heat should and will end up trading for Kristaps Porzingis is that he doesn't elevate the team to a championship status. Porzingis is a good player, I'm not denying that. I've mentioned his negatives, I've mentioned his positives, but at the end of the day, his play has gotten worse since the 2018 ACL tear, and he may have already plateaued as a player. The Heat would be locked into a core of Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Porzingis for the foreseeable future, and unless Bam and Kristaps take those massive leaps, I don't think that's a championship level squad. You also have to take into account that he is not a great defender, and that he's also really not physical for his size. That comes hand in hand with Heat culture. I'm not sure if Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, and the rest of the Heat front office and coaching staff would want a guy who lacks physicality. That's going to be it for today, guys. Just to remind you that if you like this video and if you enjoy content like this, go ahead and like and subscribe and turn on that post notification bell to never miss a video. Also, go comment down below which player you would want me to make a video about next as far as the offseason trade targets for the Heat. With that being said, I'll catch you later. Peace.